This is the third June 2021 meeting, Franklin Township Zoning Board of Adjustment. And to bring it up, operation of in local C due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and has been that the public's attendance public meeting of the Franklin Township Zoning Board of Adjustment would promote safety and welfare of. As a result, this meeting has been relocated from the chambers at the Franklin Municipal Building to a full meeting format, and is being utilizing telecommunications equipment in conformance with of the New Jersey. The relocation of this virtual meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment was posted in the Township's official paper, the current on the Township website, the Township cable station, and exterior building. This detail the following means of participation in a remote meeting: the meeting via WebEx, and a call-in number for those without internet access was made available via the Township website by appointment. Remind board members, we ask that you refrain from questions. The applicant has presented and board question after the applicant is done. In order to reduce potential background noise, we ask that you mute yourselves unless you wish to speak or to provide. For those members of the public that are watching via WebEx, please indicate whether you provide input, please your name and address. At the time in the Township will announce your name, you have the opportunity to provide comment. For those members of the public that are via the number at appropriate time in the meeting, Townships unmute the phone line, return and provide us to provide your name and address.
Okay, could you call the roll?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Yes. Yep. Here.
Here. Okay, we have no minutes or resolutions on the agenda, nor anything for discussion. In terms of hearing, we have Diamond Investors and Builders, LLC, ZBA 1900, C variance in which the applicant's looking to build a two-story single-family dwelling, 61 Juliet Avenue, Somerset, Block 160, Lot 1.01, in the working zone. This is carried to a future date with notification needed. The second one on the agenda was Elion, ZBA 190003, D1 use variance, C variances, minor subdivision and site plan, which the applicant's subdividing the property into two lots, constructing two warehouses, one building, 425,250 square feet, and building 218,800 square feet, and Veronica Avenue and 74-102 Bennett's Lane, 8802, lots 25, 26, 71, 72, with portions of the property in zones M2, R40A, agricultural and office professional. This again is carried indefinitely. Further notification needed. For those wishing to participate with the virtual WebEx meeting, the events attendees will be posted on the township's website at www.franklintownship.org/home/components/calendar/event/155992193. For those wishing to listen by telephone, the call-in number is 1+408-418-9388. Access code is 129-106-6395. Moving to the first hearing, 1340 Hamilton Street, ZBA 20-00004. Applicant has already received approvals for site plan and use permits. Applicants are requesting a modification to operate the service station 24 hours, 7 days a week, 1340 Hamilton Street, Somerset, in the M2 zone, carried from May 7th, when the threat notification was needed. Ready to go? I'll turn over to applicant's attorney.
I will make Pape, attorney and panelist. He also has his the client, make him a panelist. So Mr. Pape, you're now a panelist. You have a person, Allison Cough. I see her on the list here.
Good evening, Mr. Healy. Am I coming through?
So you can go ahead, Mr. Pape.
Mr. Chairman, am I being heard?
Yes, Mr. Pape.
Yes, thank
Here
you.
you go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board's professionals, good evening. Well, my name is Kenneth Pape. I'm an attorney with Heilbrunn Pape. And as was just read into the record, this is a request for a modification of a condition that was imposed on the board, imposed by the board on the applicant in 2015 when this application was before you as a new use of the property. This evening with me, and if I could just confirm, because I don't see, Mr. James Higgins is our professional planner, and Mr. Felix Brusilowski is the owner of the center. May I ask if we could confirm that they're on the line with us? I don't see them.
No, the email that we received was that Felix, and he did it as a, and that Allison Coffin was going to be a panelist. I don't.
Mr. Gary, Allison Coffin's father is James Higgins. They are a partnership. He has called in on a phone line and told me that he believes that he is in.
Okay. He called in.
Yes. Just sent me a message that said,
Does his phone number begin with a 7 or a 9?
732, and then it's a two number after that. Yeah, Mr. Brusilowski has confirmed that he is in, and Mr. Higgins says that he is on the phone at his telephone number. Mr. Higgins, if you can hear me speaking, if you could send me the phone number that you've dialed in on.
Well, the thing is, I can only see. That's why we gave the analysts to call in. In order, we have about 10 call-in. It gives me the first digit of their phone number. That's it. So
732.
I can.
Well, he was trying to come in on Allison's email address without any success. That's why he jumped to the line. I can. I have his phone number.
So let me. It showed me. trying to flash the phone number.
I see Felix's picture on the screen.
Felix is James.
I hope you could hear me.
I can hear you.
It's James Higgins who's on the phone.
All right, so this one will do to calling people. I want to ask for just against this moment. Mr. Higgins?
I cannot.
Can you hear me?
Something's interfering with the call.
Yeah, I can hear the interference. I can hear you also.
Mr. Higgins, I think I unmuted your line. Are you... Please. Mr. Pape, why don't you just start? Do you want to with Mr. Bosalewski? Is Mr. Higgins first written?
No, I have a brief outline, Mr. Healy, and then Mr. Brusilowski, and then Mr. Higgins has the professional testimony. But this is a request to have 24 hours of fuel service at the 7-Eleven. When we came in 2015, the board granted 24/7 for the 7-Eleven convenience store. And that convenience store has been open and successfully operated for 2.5 years. It opened in December 2017. And as you'll hear from Mr. Brusilowski, there have been no difficult events. It has been a true success. Mr. Brusilowski built the center. It's for you to tell us, but we feel very proud. It's a very handsome center. It's very well landscaped, and it has a very modern lighting scheme. We've had, for the 2.5 years, the lighting under the canopy kept at 25%, which was the amount that lighting was deemed to be necessary to be safe. We have found for the whole 2.5 years that people are coming to the facility, to the convenience store, and during the evening and night hours, attempting to get fuel. It has created a bit of an issue where the people at the 7-Eleven explain that the fuel portion isn't open. And as you'll hear from Mr. Brusilowski, it's not uncommon for people to sit under the canopy and honk their horns to try to get the attention of the 7-Eleven people. We are this evening asking if we could operate the fuel station on a 24/7 basis. And if I could introduce to Mr. Brusilowski, who is the owner of the facility and has 30 fueling stations in New Jersey, a lot of experience in this, and we'll just talk briefly about how the operation has been working and how he would operate it if it were to be a 24/7 operation. Is that acceptable to the board?
Well, let's hear the testimony.
So, Mr. Brusilowski is the managing member of 1340 Hamilton Street, LLC. I look to you as to the procedure for swearing him in.
Yes. Mr. Brusilowski, please raise your right hand wherever you are. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last for the record.
Felix Brusilowski, BRUSELOVSKY.
Counselor, would you, I know you made a brief statement regarding who he is, but would you just qualify him? I guess he's going to be a fact witness, Counselor?
Okay. Mr. Brusilowski, I indicated that you are the managing member, that you are the owner of the 1340 Hamilton Street.
I am.
Correct?
Yes, I am.
And you established the 7-Eleven and the shopping center in December of 2017.
Yes, we did.
Since that time, have you had any issues at all with the operation of the 7-Eleven at this site?
The problem we've been having, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great pleasure working in the town. Thank you very much for your cooperation and giving us the approval and giving us the opportunity to service the public. For the 2.5 years that we've been there, it's been a success story, like most of our other locations throughout the whole state. And what we've been running into, since 7-Eleven is a 24-hour operation, our clientele comes in, automatically they feel that the gasoline portion is also open 24/7. So people come for the fuel and their 7-Eleven services, and they're not getting service. So what happens is they get very annoyed. They start beeping their horns throughout the night, and they give the 7-Eleven employees an attitude. So the reason we're in front of the board tonight, to eliminate any issues, and since the 7-Eleven has been very successful being 24/7 there and servicing the public, we feel that it would be very important that we could open up the gasoline portion to service as one, so that people will not get mad, beat their horns in the middle of the night and disturb the public and have issues.
Earlier, you heard me say that you have more than one. In fact, I believe you have 30 fueling stations in the state of New Jersey, Mr. Brusilowski.
We do. We operate over 30 gas stations throughout New Jersey with convenience stores. We have almost 10 locations with 7-Eleven throughout the state, and we're in process of getting multiple approved as we speak as well. And it's been a great marriage between us and 7-Eleven. It's just been a great success story, and it just works hand in hand, where gasoline helps the convenience store and the convenience store helps the gas, where people come in. It's a one-stop shop, and that's what the public expects.
Of these 30 facilities, Mr. Brusilowski, do you have others that are open 24/7?
Yes, we have quite a few of them that are open 24/7 under 7-Eleven flag and under our private brand as well.
And Mr. Brusilowski, do you have a security system in place in all of those facilities?
We have, all of our facilities are fully equipped with 24-hour surveillance with cameras all throughout the whole premises, throughout the whole property. At this particular location, behind the shopping center, in front of the center, in front of the gasoline pumps, in the parking lot, everything we have, camera surveillance, 24/7. It's on my phone, it's on my iPad, it's on my huge screen in my office as well. So we constantly monitor all of our locations with cameras.
And my last question for Mr. Brusilowski is, at this site, have you had any security issues whatsoever?
Thank God, none so ever.
I have nothing further, Mr. Brusilowski. I'm not sure of your procedures. I have 5 to 7 minutes of planning testimony from Mr. Higgins, who tells me that he feels he's in. Do you wish to hear that testimony, and then both individuals be available for examination, Mr. Chair?
Okay, he's not available at the moment, right?
Mr. Higgins is a panelist. I'm going to bring him in at this point.
Okay, then we'll have comments or questions.
All right, so Mr. Higgins should now be panelist.
Mr. Higgins, are you on the line? Mr. Higgins?
I think he's new.
Am I muted now, or am I
You're good.
Okay.
We hear you.
There we go. Okay, good. Okay. Yes, I am here.
Mr. Higgins, I'm going to swear you in if you don't mind.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name and spell your last for the record.
James W. Higgins, Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
Mr. Higgins, am I coming through?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Higgins, would you share with the board your professional and educational background?
Sure. I've been a licensed professional planner for over 40 years in the state. I have a Bachelor of Science in Landscape Architecture from Rutgers University. I've been a planning consultant for over 20 municipalities in the state throughout my career.
I think we can qualify him without and continue moving forward.
You could. Did you hear my opening remarks?
I heard part of them. Yes. Yes.
Did you, Mr. Brusilowski's testimony?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to physically examine the site?
Yes, I did. I visited the site on several occasions, including after dark, so I could see what the lighting was like on the site.
So Higgins, I'm going to ask if you could, in a narrative presentation, share with us your observations and then take us through the proofs that are necessary for this applicant to have a modification of conditions of the prior use variance approval.
Yeah, sure. There are two conditions the applicant is seeking relief from. One is that the gasoline station be closed from the hours of 11 p.m. till 5 a.m. And the other is that the lighting under the canopy be reduced 25% during those hours, and that the signs for the gasoline station, mainly the price signs, be turned off during those hours. When I look at this, and I can understand the reason for the restrictions for the initial application, because this is really an unknown situation in terms of what the impacts would be for this use on the surrounding properties, in particular the residential uses across Hamilton Road. So I can see where the board would take a conservative approach for the initial application because it was an unknown in terms of the impacts, and require that the gasoline station portion of the operation be closed during those hours to try and limit any impact on the residences across the street. Since then, the site has been in full operation for several years. It's very clear from looking at the site during the day and at night that the gasoline station has not had a substantial negative impact on the residential properties across Hamilton Road. And so when I look at it, I don't think there is any substantial negative impact to this, to the gasoline station operating during the hours of 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. The primary impact would be the lighting of the canopy, and when I looked at the lighting of the canopy, clearly the lighting is directed downward. It doesn't spill off the site. While it's visible from off-site, it doesn't really have light spillage off-site that would adversely impact the residential properties. As far as the signage goes, there are two signs that are price signs for the gasoline station. One of those is on Veronica, as far away from Hamilton Road as it can be, and it is really not readily visible from the residential properties, has no impact on them. The other is on Hamilton, and it's oriented to be perpendicular to Hamilton, so that the residences across the street would either be looking at the side of the sign or be having an oblique view of that sign. And again, the light doesn't spill off of the site. While it's visible, it doesn't really spill off of the site to where it would be disturbing to the residences across the street. So when I looked at that, I don't think that now that you can see the operation of the filling station and how it appears at night, I don't feel there's any substantial negative impact to the operation for 24 hours. In fact, as Mr. Brusilowski said, if in fact people do sit there and beat their horns, that would have a greater impact on those residences than the light, which is really a passive type thing. So when I look at it, I don't think there's any substantial negative impact, and I think actually the fact that the 7-Eleven is open 24 hours a day and hasn't had a substantial negative impact on the residences across the street, I think having the gasoline filling station be open, where many of those residents, many of those patrons that would use the 7-Eleven, which will also be using the gasoline station and be on the site anyway. So there wouldn't be a substantial negative impact to utilizing that gasoline station during those hours.
That, Mr. Chair and members of the board, is your fact and professional presentation in support of the applicant's request.
One question about the project and the use as we go on. As I recall, when this was first approved, there was testimony by your client that this facility was not equipped to service the big 18-wheeler tractor trailers. I could see that being an impact at 3 o'clock in the morning, possibly. But if that, take that situation to remain, I'm under the impression the testimony then was it takes a special pump to pump gas into the big rigs. If you try and do it with the usual car pump, it would take a couple of hours or whatever, and they don't like to stop, right? But I think having it attractive to those kinds of vehicles might not be, that might have an impact on the use. Otherwise, I'm not,
if I may,
an issue.
your recollection is spot on. Mr. Brusilowski has made it a practice that his facilities have the 1-inch hose and the 1-inch nozzle and the low flow pump on the diesels. And that is how these were built. And that is the way all of his are built. And that is so that the large vehicles that typically have the 2-inch nozzle and the high speed filling facilities are not attracted. And in fact, we can bring Mr. Brusilowski back on. This site is not set up for tractor trailers, and Mr. Brusilowski will share with you, it's just not part of his business model.
I just want to confirm that, that's all.
If I would, please.
It was built as committed. Mr. Brusilowski, if you could confirm that on the record.
Ladies and gentlemen, with your permission, our location is built to service, we are not servicing tractor trailers. Next door to us, the Delta gas station, they service the tractor trailers. They have a standalone dispenser, a pump, that specifically caters to trucks. High-speed diesel pump on the side of the building. We do not have that kind of pump on our facility. We have a diesel pump that only services pickup trucks. More and more vehicles are diesel driven because there are low emissions vehicles now. I even had a few years ago myself a vehicle that had a diesel that I loved, and I'm thinking of buying another car that would be driven by a diesel powered vehicle. But we do not service the tractor trailers. We do not cater to those type of customers. Even the radius to enter and exit our location cannot, and I repeat, cannot service tractor trailers. It's very difficult for tractor trailers to come into our facility.
Okay, thank you. I'm just confirming that.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Any other board members?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure I was unmuted. How many gasoline services would you anticipate having in a night during that period between?
To be honest with you, not too much. It's basically
What is it, 11
to service the public, so we don't have customers that are annoyed, to eliminate customers who are giving the people in the 7-Eleven a hard time during the night. It's becoming an issue. People not honking during the night, just to service those customers. So,
how many customers would you, assuming that this application were approved, how many customers would you anticipate?
if we're going to service about, if I would say about 10 customers per hour, that would be a lot. It's just a convenience for the public that are coming in to use the 7-Eleven and get gas simultaneously. It's just for the convenience purposes and eliminating people that getting annoyed and getting mad and honking the horns and giving the cashiers in the 7-Eleven a hard time.
Any other board questions?
Yeah, what time does the gas station close at this time?
11 o'clock at night.
What time?
11 o'clock at night, Mr. Rosenthal.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, I'd like to say something. I've been to this facility. It's kept very nice. I'll probably vote in favor of this variance, but I do get annoyed every time we get an approved variance back to us, asking for different courses of action. We may not have to prove this if he wanted 24-hour gas when he first came in, and now he has a successful operation and he's coming back asking for new terms. I think that I just get a little annoyed every time I see one of these applications come back to us on that basis. But it's a nice location. I'll probably vote for it, but I'm just annoyed a little.
If I can just address Mr. Reese's comment for a second. Mr. Reese, the applicant or an individual, a subsequent owner, or any person having interest in the property can make this application. That's why they're here tonight. So I appreciate your frustration. I understand the concerns, but there is a right to do exactly what the applicant is requesting here.
I didn't say they did not.
If I could speak very briefly to the point, I'd like to acknowledge that point raised by Mr. Reese. And when we came before the board, in 2013, which was when the use variance was heard, we asked if we could be 24/7. And there was a statement made, we'll discuss it with you when you come back for site plan. And actually, there was a comment memorialized in the use variance. When we came back for site plan, we again asked if we could be 24/7. And the board put controls on the service station and said the 7-Eleven could be 24/7. And we specifically said we thanked the board and we indicated that after operation, we may be back with the testimony of operation for reconsideration. So I respect I've been doing this for 40 some years. Board members have the utmost respect. Your comments are heard and not falling on deaf ears. But in this specific instance, we did indicate that we thought that we might be able to come back at a later date with facts on operation to support this relief. So thank you.
I have a question. This is Cheryl Patia. In terms of the lighting, if you were requesting to have the fuel station open 24/7, would that mean that basically the LED lighting would be 100%, as well as the canopy lighting would remain? Like, in other words, everything would remain 100%. There wouldn't be any turning down of lights. Is that correct?
There were controls on the light. The general parking lot overnight lights, were reduced 50%. And there's a safe condition throughout the general parking lot. The part under the canopy was reduced to 25%, with the understanding that sunlight was necessary, but we wanted it to be dim. If there's going to be an operation of service of fueling, the lighting would have to be turned up to a safe level. And that would be somewhere between 75 and 100% in the LED filters inside the canopy only.
So just the canopy?
Just inside the canopy. The rest would be no change and would stay at 50%.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I did have one other question. So you had mentioned that you were around the area at night, and about the lighting affecting the surrounding neighborhood, the residents. Have you had an opportunity to actually speak to the residents to hear from them directly, and instead of just going by observation?
No, I usually don't knock on doors and talk to residents, particularly in the situation we're in right now, people would not welcome somebody coming up to their door and knocking on the door and asking questions. I did look and I rode around the neighborhood. I viewed the site from the streets across Hamilton to see if there was anything really visible. And I couldn't see anything visible except from the houses that front on Hamilton. And there, the light still was not spilling off the site. It was staying on the site. Clearly, you can see the canopy, but it's not something that's particularly disturbing.
If you don't mind, everybody, with all due respect, I would like to make one more comment, with everybody's permission. Along Hamilton Avenue and Veronica, we do have berms, so headlights are not hitting any of the neighbors. Everything, all the lighting is on site. Nothing ever spills off site at all. So we made all the precautions, we took all the measures not to disturb the neighbors at all.
Okay, headlights was coming in, headlight intrusion from the facility to the neighbors across the street was a concern when you first came in for the application, and obviously I think it's been addressed. I'm not aware of, maybe Mark is, that there are any complaints from the surrounding area about any lighting issues or anything like that.
That's why
we do the public. We have about 50 people, so I speak to that.
If there are no more questions at the moment, then we can open to the public and see if that brings up anything else.
Mr. Thomas, I have a couple questions.
Oh, sorry.
Now there'll be an attendant at these gas pumps for these new hours.
Mr. Brusilowski?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yes. Will there be an attendant present at these pumps during these extended hours?
Of course, yes.
And will the attendant be an employee of 7-Eleven, or will they be an employee of some other entity?
Another entity, sir.
Okay.
That's my entity.
Okay. And
could you repeat the last response? What entity would be they be?
The gasoline station is a company op. It's operated by me.
Okay.
And can you give me an idea about how many problem customers you're getting a week at the location?
From what I understand from 7-Eleven, there's multiple per night. They come in, they sit in the car, they start honking the horn. Then they come into the store, they start giving the cashiers a hard time. Why can't I get gas? I'm here to get a pack of cigarettes. I want my gas. People get a little rowdy, but it's human,
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just make a follow-up point. Ms. Bethay raised a good question regarding the prior condition, and that was the 25% lighting being raised to some essentially unknown level, whether it's 75 or 100%. And council indicated that's going to be to a degree that is deemed safe, which is, I don't know if there's any objective standards for that, but it seems rather subjective. I am familiar with similar applications where lighting is an issue, and we ask that the applicant be subject as a condition of approval to a 6-month probationary period where if there are issues with lighting, that those lights can then be adjusted during that time frame.
That would be perfectly acceptable. And we would always going to, at the end, indicate our experience is that we've asked police or other people who are direct code enforcement people who are directly familiar with the safety issues inherent in the town participate with us.
Great. And I hate to put stuff on Mark, but perhaps he could be the point person of that kind of information, if that could be relayed to the board, or you can leave it directly in his hands.
That could be a condition. Anything else? Okay. All right, let's get the public involved, possibly.
Before you do that, I just want to clarify what I believe I heard. So the sole rationale coming back to the board to get approval for this change is solely because you're saying that customers are creating a nuisance? Is that the sole reason? And therefore, you're asking to be allowed to be 27 so that the disgruntled customers are not creating a problem with the neighborhood? Is that the sole? Essentially?
A more complete, I'm not going to argue with your choice of words, but a more complete answer is we have identified that the public wants to buy gasoline from us during those hours, that there is a customer base that is coming onto the site to use the 7-Eleven, and we are looking to service them and simultaneously eliminate what has become a bit of a nuisance.
Okay, anything else? Okay, one more try for the public.
Okay. Calling people. We have about 15. What I'm suggest is I'm going to unmute all of the people who are calling in. I'm going to unmute everybody in a second. I'm going to ask is people with the last A through H or spread first of something, people in order through the. I think we have all 50 at once. It'll be so in a few seconds here. Unpause.
Hello.
Okay. Hello. So.
Yes, I have a question.
Now. For right now, we're calling anybody's name through something.
John, so I'm right across the street from the gas station at 1361 Hamilton Street.
Okay, let me for a second, sir. So now for each of the people, and the attorney first, we're going to ask you to give your name and your address. Attorney's going to win.
Get on if you're not on the phone.
Can I call? My name is Geraldine. I have a question. I'm at 35 Ray Street.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question regarding the Diamond Investors Builder's license that was addressed tonight.
No, that was being
my name is Gerald.
July you will receive it's carried to July 2nd, and you'll re-noticed that.
Oh, she's wanting to talk about that.
Investors is not tonight's July.
What was that?
Mark, you're breaking up.
Diamond.
Oh, gosh.
Diamond Investors is not being heard. It July 2nd, and you have noted that hearing of how you all in.
It's going to
be. You set the time. It's not even pertinent.
Mark, it's being carried indefinitely. Re-notification.
Mark, this is Kunal. Is it okay if I speak?
Yes, please.
Because I just want to make sure. Yes. Okay, so to the person asking the question, I believe what Mark is trying to convey is Diamond Investors and Builders LLC, that case is not being heard today.
Okay. Okay, it's not being heard today.
And re-notification.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Sorry for that, but thanks for calling in.
Okay.
Thanks for handling that.
May I
John,
speak?
1361 Hamilton Street.
Okay.
I'm exactly right across the street from the gas station. Can I be heard right now? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Totally. I wish that the gentleman that got on the phone, got on the record and said that he had did a survey of the area would have spoke to the neighbors. Mm-hmm. Immediately, every time, once the sun goes down, approximately 38 the summertime, whatever, the headlight from vehicles angle went right through my bay window. I've owned the house there for 22 years. For the last 2 years, it has been a problem with the headlights coming from the gas at before they close at the clock. The intersection is traffic, but that's due to Veronica Avenue. However, I'm totally against, because the one thing they don't realize, selling diesel fuel, even though there's no tractor trailers, there will be straight jobs that will still come in, and they still make a lot of noise. Their gas station is right there next to them. They'll close those hours. They're already in compliance with the neighborhood for that diesel alone. For if the employees there receive irate customers, there's more honking of horns that come through the area when traffic lights are because that's a very busy intersection. So I don't think that they're doing it for the grace of the community, because the community definitely do not want it. It's just doing it for the profit, for those hours that he wished to have it. I'm a retired police officer. I had that now for 20 years. 7-Eleven is great, but to open up the gas station is definitely not the answer. Not for those hours, because it will definitely erode the nightlife of us residents trying to rest. It will bring more, and it will bring resources that will increase as well, because you're going to have to probably move police officers in that area just for the reason alone, because there's a 7-Eleven. Now, 7-Eleven at the next intersection up from have a gas station, because there are 3 gas stations on that corner that are open. There's another, there's a mile down that's at the next intersection going down off on Hamilton. So there are 6 gas stations that are open 24 hours.
Yes,
there's no need for that to be right there in our neighborhood open for those houses. We don't hear rest now. Traffic gotten worse, and that's going to bring more detriment to the area.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, sir. I'm sorry. The gentleman who just spoke, what was your name and address?
John Borders, 1361 Hamilton Street, right across the street.
How do you spell your last name?
Borders.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is that the house next to the landscaping? 1351?
Number 2. I know. But I'm not getting in.
I think there was another lady or a gentleman trying to share a question with us. Okay, you can kindly proceed.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Danny Ford, 4 Hill Avenue.
That's Danny.
From 7-Eleven. You hear me? Does anybody hear me?
Clearly. So we hear you very faintly.
Oh, okay. I live right across the street. I moved here before you built this place. I'm picking 7-Eleven hot dog boxes every morning. Now I'm picking up rubber gloves and masks. Your whole establishment is above my. Tractor trailers pull in, they can't make deliveries. I sit here with high beams on all night shining at me. Then the police pull over on the side behind you, and they're not doing radar. They're out in the open. I had to go out and tell the cops to shut the high beams off.
Well, I'm not making a phone call. How do I get on the agenda?
And the court is nothing but disruption. And you guys altered the entrance.
No, I'm not. I'm at the hearing.
To my house. So don't tell me when to check with the neighbor. You do nothing.
You will call?
I want it closed down permanently. My house is down. I want my taxes cut in half. This is a joke.
I'm on the list. They'll call us.
I am talking of garbage that ain't mine.
Okay.
They already ran through my fence when you first opened. But you don't know that, do you? You don't live here. This is a joke. I paid every grand for what? To look at 7-Eleven and watch the trucks go in and out.
He forgot to give his address.
I have
He is across the street, but he's 4 Hills.
This is Kunal Lakhia again.
Every night. You want to come here? I'll give you the keys.
Kunal,
Come to my house.
let them talk.
And we won't have to have this conversation after 20 minutes. You'll see what goes on there. Tractor trailers idling because they won't let them make deliveries at 3 o'clock in the morning. You got the boom boom cars in there playing donuts 3, 4 in the morning. Oh, they're angry they can't get gas. Give me a break, will you? Give 2 seconds on me. I want my taxes cut in half. I refuse to pay.
I have a hard time understanding what this person is saying.
My house has gone down from this entity across the street. Looks like a space station. Telling me the lights are okay. You cannot see, buddy. You can't see. I do not want to. I mean it.
Mr. Greco? Mr. Greco, I think you're in your point. You're and for the record, you're at 4 Hill. Is that right?
Hill, come to my house, and I'll show you this story.
Let me summarize your comments. Hey, it's not productive for you to keep yelling. Let me try to summarize your comments.
Okay, we've heard you now. Let us make something about it.
So, yeah, our operation, people make at night, tractor trailers, things of that nature. That's what all that the board says.
Don't get tractor trailers. Don't go in there. What are you doing? You high?
This is Glenn.
The board heard you. We now need to move to the member of the.
Yeah,
what is your comment? Okay.
Okay.
My turn. So, I want you to come here at night and look at 7-Eleven, and you tell me, because my dog just had a pacemaker put in, okay? I'm a little on edge. But I was up with her for here.
Mr. Greco, I'm going to have to mute now. Other members of the public need to have the opportunity to speak. I heard your comment. I'm going to have to mute you now. All right, so Mrs. Grunf, I'm going to, you unmute. You can speak now.
Okay, I'm Sandra Grenfest. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, you can hear me. Yeah, I live at 19 Hill Avenue. We've been here since 1966. And the last few years, it's been a zoo at that corner.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
The
interrupt.
traffic.
Ms. Grunfest, if I could interrupt you for a second. Mr. Chairman, these witnesses are giving testimony. They should be under oath.
They need to be sworn in and we did get a name and address.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. It's been, nobody has addressed the noise sufficiently, except perhaps Mr. Greco. But the noise during the day on Hamilton Street is incredible. The traffic is incredible. Left turn lanes, if you're going toward Veronica, are dangerous. It's a total zoo there. Now, why would anybody want to make it worse by opening up at night? At least during the days, but there's noise from a lot of things. At night, you want it quiet. Now, they're saying that, the drivers are annoyed and they yell. Well, I don't want to reward bad behavior. And I agree with Ms. Bethia. You're rewarding bad behavior. I think you should threaten, the manager should threaten, if they don't stop and do what they're supposed to do, you're going to call the police. They shouldn't be allowed to sit there and run their motors and curse. That isn't right. Okay, now, another point Mr. Higgins raised, that there was no impact on the residents. And thank you very much for allowing us to speak on the residents' behalf. There has been an impact on the residents. You're always talking about the lighting. Now, what about the noise? The noise at night with motors is very, very loud. You mentioned Delta also has heavy trailers, big trailers, but they close. They close at 10 or 11. You want to be open all night. Is that going to help? That might help your bottom line, but what about us? This is a residential area. So the noise is the main concern. Another concern is the pollution from trucks idling, exhaust fumes, creating pollution in the neighborhood.
Gas spilling.
Pardon? No, I just want to make a couple of more points. Many of the vehicles we see during the day are light, but they're heavy and diesel trucks that make a lot more noise. And the other thing is the site should be monitored. If there are these loud, noisy people cursing and yelling, the police should drive by. Now that this has been brought to our attention, the police should drive by and monitor it and make sure that everybody is behaving. The drivers of the cars and the people who are cursing, that shouldn't be allowed. Then the other question I have, if we should hear noise that we think is excessive, who do we call? Do we call the manager? Do we call the police? We need reasons when it is happening to say, yes, they're making a loud noise. Will you please check it out and investigate what is going on? Okay, that is what I want to say. And my husband, Jerry, would also like to speak. So please, when you can, give him permission to talk as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm speaking.
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Grunfest.
Yes.
Hi, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please state your name again.
Jerry with a J, J-E-R-R-Y, Grundfest, spelled G as in George, R-U-N-D-F-E-S.
Okay, and your address is 19 Hill Avenue?
19 Hill Avenue is correct.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I want to make as brief remarks as possible. First, I want to thank the members of the board. I'll just throw an aside in here.
many years ago, I was an alternate on this very same board. It was a very illuminating and educational experience, and I treasure the memory very much. I want to thank the board because you made it possible for us to hold this hearing. As my view of it is that I do not see a hardship. The board was very prescient and foresighted in allowing the 7-Eleven to go forward, but not during hours that would disturb residents nearby. We are near the 7-Eleven borders a very fine, hard-working class group of citizens. We have been there, and we are one of a few retirees remaining. But new families, young families are coming in, and they are teachers, they are policemen, they are people who need a more reasonable kind of home and a neighborhood where they can bring up their children in safety and pleasant surroundings. And Franklin Township does have that in that neighborhood. I really think it is fine. Now, I don't really want to criticize the 7-Eleven. There are some things, though, that really ought to be attended to. One of them is that Mr. Higgins, with all due respect, said that neighbors have not complained. Well, I'm not aware of anybody ever asking me. I'm about a block away from the 7-Eleven. I see the traffic light. And I have never been asked anything about it or notified about any changes being made. So I would say there is room for development there. We would like somebody paying attention to the community and giving us an opportunity like this one to state our opinions. And I think that we also, the question of late night has been covered adequately. I want to just add one other thing, is that the 7-Eleven is really a very, very low inventory store. It is more a kiosk than a normal retail because they get deliveries every day or almost every day by a semi-truck or by a large truck with a very noisy freezer on it. And I would like somebody that I can talk to about this because that semi is there for an hour or two while the items are downloaded into the store. And the next day, same thing recurs, and the next day again. So, you know, when you say that you're not selling to long-distance trailers, that's true. You're bringing your own in and taking it back. I think that I would like to see you be a more responsive and helpful kind of neighbor and someone that I would appreciate being next to. That is my testimony, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody remaining?
Okay. Again, now, hello.
Hello?
Hello? Yes, go ahead. What's your last?
Yes, my last thing is, board, I spoke a little bit earlier, but one thing that really troubles me with 7-Eleven being open for 24 hours, property value. The moment that I try to resell my home, it's going to be an issue because of the 24 hour, the overnight traffic that is going to come from 7-Eleven. Earlier, I did state that there are 4 other gas stations. The Delta gas station is right near them, does not open overnight, and they do not even open. They only open to 5 or 6 on Sundays. I don't think they open on Sundays. So their hours are very limited. This is not a good idea because I'm like, when when it's time for myself and the neighbors, when we wish to sell our properties and move, it's going to be a hard sell when the people come through and they're going to sit there the same way that the same guy that surveyed, this gentleman that did the survey and said, well, I coasted the neighborhood. Now it's open 24 hours. There's going to be some trucks. There's going to be some traffic. And they can say, well, I don't wish to live there because I will never get any sleep, especially for people like myself, a retired police officer. I worked days and nights, and it was very hard trying to adjust to a sleep schedule, especially before I retired. And like I said, once they open, I have a bay window at my home, and those lights, every vehicle that goes there, that will circle off of Veronica and enters the gas station, and before they park, their lights are shining right through my home. So I'm like, I have to drop curtains and blinds that I didn't have at one time, but now I have to put that in just to cut down on some of the light. And that's not even talking about the light of the price board that's there. So the gentleman that spoke earlier, he's definitely wrong saying about the issue about the light.
So for the record, what's your name again? And
my name is John Borders. 1361 Hamilton Street.
Okay. Do you have anything you wish to say? Because we do have other wishing to speak.
Okay, we'll close it to the public.
Oh, no.
Thank you, sir.
We have a number of other callers.
Yeah.
Only just the beginning of the alphabet.
Okay.
Anybody else A through H? We are here. Anybody else with the last name A through H? Okay, I'm not hearing anybody A through H. So now I through O. Anybody last name I through O? Anybody? Okay, so nobody with the last name I through O. Rest of the anybody else wish to speak?
Yes, I would like to speak.
Okay, so I heard a voice first. So go ahead, ma'am.
Who are you taking, P or O?
You.
Okay,
We're taking you.
My name is Carol Peterson. I live at 12 Lake Avenue, Somerset.
Ms. Peterson, Ms. Peterson, do you swear?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead, Mrs. Peterson.
Okay. One, there are numerous things that have been going on increasingly with 7-Eleven. Number one, in the summertime, you can't see their lights. In the wintertime, you can. They set the property up so high, it just shines right down the street, right into neighbors' lots. Number two, they frequently spill gas. Have you ever been sleeping and all of a sudden you're smelling gas fumes coming into your house? Number three, the traffic flow in and out is not meeting the standards that you set up for them through the county. People do U-turns, and if you don't think trucks get in there, they just straddle off of Hamilton Street and go in, because you've almost been hit by them. Number five, there are no other businesses of any kind open in this area. There's no offices. The Moose Lodge shuts down, and they play music sometimes till 10. This place, increasingly, there's noise. Have you ever been awakened at 5 a.m. because there's a truck idling, and it idles till 7 o'clock in the morning, and your dog is barking because they hear them?
Wow, she's good.
I'm going on. We know that 7-Eleven means they used to be open from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. That's where they got their name. Personally, I recommend they close all night open up at 5 o'clock or 6 and shut down by 11 because there's not a lot of traffic unless they are bringing it in. People do honk their horns. Trucks have idled again for hours. People come off, do U-turns in the Spring Hill Lake intersection so then they can go back the way they want to go. Finally, they don't observe what you set them up to observe. Again, reiterating, noise is getting worse. Traffic and how they feed in and out, you might as well take the signs down. They take and have lights. They chose to put the property up higher so it makes it that the lights come in over 6-foot fence. And not only that, what's going to happen, because these places are well known to be problems at night because they're great places for people to rob. And we've already had enough shootings. You can hear gunshots coming that have come from Churchill. You can hear gunshots that have come from the parks. And I, as one, don't want some innocent person sleeping in their bed, or a child, because we have a lot of kids in this area now, sleeping in their beds, and they decide to rob the 7-Eleven at night, and then we get some innocent person or child killed. And you all know robberies, murders are on the increase in Franklin Township. So our vote is absolutely not. And my husband has one comment. His comment is, and I'm passing it along because he's not feeling well, he says no also, because we too are also getting tired of the traffic.
Mark?
Yes.
We need to make it clear, I think, that this application is not going to close the 7-Eleven either way. That's already been approved for 24 hours. So in a sense, that may be related to the gas, but it's not a question of it's going to still remain open. I just want everyone that wants to speak to understand that part of it. This isn't a hearing to close 7-Eleven. It's a hearing concerning whether the gas services are going to be open 24 hours.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, Mr. Chairman, is a good reminder that is the subject of the hearing. I'm going to just the rest of the callers. Make me right.
Hello?
Okay, so the rest of the callers are muted. Anybody to speak?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sir, your name and address, please.
My name is Vincent Vignolo, 1347 Hamilton Street.
Spell your last name, please.
B as in Victor, IGNUOLO.
And your address again, I'm sorry?
1347 Hamilton Street, directly across.
And do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, first, there was no password given to log on to the website. We could not see what was going on because you didn't give us a password when you sent us out the written information. Second, there are many times that the council members have been speaking when people have been giving their comments, and we can hear them, and the comments have not been nice. Thirdly, my quality of life has changed since the 7-Eleven moved in. My bedroom window is even with the gas line. The lights come right in. I have purchased blackout curtains. They don't seem to help. There's noise all through the night. I can no longer sleep with my windows open because the smell of gas comes in on certain nights when the wind is blowing correctly. If the gentleman who gave testimony for 7-Eleven has been there recently and says that the berm is blocking the light, then why is the berm covered in dead trees? I don't know if any of the members have been down there lately, but there's dead landscaping. It's doing nothing. The lights come in, and the red and green price lights are on all night long. The other night I was woken up at 3 a.m. I called the police, and at 3 a.m. the red and green lights were shining right through my window. So you've changed the quality of life for the people who live over there. It's no longer nice to live there. As has been said, there's been increased garbage, increased smell, increased noise, and the lights are terrible. So if the council would please, I recommend that all of you stay up late one night and take a ride over and take a look for yourselves. Because quality of life has definitely changed on Hamilton Street, not Hamilton Road, which our experts said before, it's Hamilton Street. But the quality of life has changed there, and I please beg the council, please to come and look and take a look at what's going on down there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Well spoken.
Yeah.
That's my neighbor.
Mark, you're muted.
We can't hear you, Mark.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you, board members. I'm sorry, one more time. Like, any other member of the public wish to speak? Anybody speak on this? All right, so Mr. Chairman, I'm not seeing anybody stepping forward or to, so I'm going to mute the callers. Muted.
Okay, if you're sure that is muted, then we'll close the public meeting. Does the applicant's attorney have any other information to offer the board?
He's muted.
Is Mr. Pappas still here?
Am I on now?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board and public, we have recorded the comments and concerns. I think that before we ask this board to act, we would like to further investigate the property, and we would ask if the board would indulge us to carry the application to your next available hearing date. We'll investigate responses to the comments that were brought to our attention.
Okay, it sounds to me also, if in your investigation that some of the objectors are actually looking for a personal touch with somebody who may be knocking at their door to ask them a question, even if the times are not a perfect time for that. It appears they might have been expecting it.
Yeah, I think that would have been helpful. At least they would have felt that there was concern and engagement with the community and decisions weren't being made.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to remind the board that this was a major discussion on the original variance, that because it's in a residential neighborhood, we put those caps on the hours because of that, and we were concerned about hurting the life the life forms of the people who live there, and apparently from these comments, the people who live right there are telling us that their life is not happy since this facility was open. I mean, in many cases, we put gas stations and 7-Elevens that don't have residential properties right across the street. In this case, we did, and we were very concerned about it.
And that was actually one of my questions I wanted to follow up is, you said that there were 30 7-Elevens and 10 with stores. Is this the only one that is in the residential? Because there seemed to be a lot of input and feedback from the residents. And I'm just wondering if you said you had experience with having so many in New Jersey. Or is this the first location that is in residential area or neighborhood such as this?
Mr. Brusilowski, would you like me to answer?
We have multiple in residential areas.
Many of them are in residential communities.
Can we get a list of the addresses so we can inspect some of them?
Sure. No, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, they want to do some investigation. We'll see where it leads. What would be the next available meeting date? Do we have anything for them that we can put them on? It's a little tight, sure, right now. But I don't know what the schedule is. I know Christine is out there.
Yeah, we have July 2nd. And Christine is for you, Mr. Pape?
Does July 2nd work for us?
Not that July 2nd has those other two big cases. Do we have time for this case?
They were also going to be on tonight, so.
Oh, okay.
This one.
Mark, my understanding with those other two applications was that initially they're carried indefinitely because it's possible they may be delayed beyond July 2nd, no?
No, we're anticipating that they're going to
Okay. We'll see how it goes.
So we're going to hold on for the members of the public. So Christine, can the board members, Christine, just information that somebody can.
You're breaking up, Mark.
Mark, it might help if you call in.
You're breaking up, Mark. I can't understand you.
Okay, just give us 1 second. We're trying to put something up on the screen. A minute, please.
Oh.
Sure. Alternatively, you could call in.
So, can everybody see what Christine just put up on the board?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What we're going to do is this is the notice to the public for the continuation of this meeting. Those who have watched the WebEx call, the link for these. I'm going to put there for you to cannot read to the next screen the call. Can you, Christine?
Can you guys hear me?
Can now.
Anybody say they can hear me? Okay.
And again, I'm sorry I'm repeating, but maybe it might be better for Mark and Christine to call in. They can mute the laptop.
All right, Kunal, I'm sorry. I'm trying to give the call number, please. Let me go ahead and do that.
Your bandwidth may be much better that way.
The phone number for the call-in for July 2nd zoning board meeting is 1-408-4.
Who's talking? On behalf of the applicant, I thank you and we look forward to rejoining you on July 2nd.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I please give the number? Can you hear me?
Okay, we can also now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, if there are no announcements, everybody stay safe. We'll see you July 2nd. Meeting adjourned.